Hey everybody, welcome back. All right, let's see what we're talking about today. We're going to be factoring trinomials with a lead coefficient greater than 1. So far the trinomials that we've been dealing with have either had a lead coefficient of 1, so we've been dealing with like x squareds, a squareds, and so on, like where there's an implied 1 at the beginning, or we have seen ones with a lead coefficient bigger than 1, but where there has been a greatest common factor that has cleared throughout the trinomial, and then you've just had to factor a normal trinomial with a lead coefficient of 1. Today, however, there is no greatest common factor. We're going to look at ones where the lead coefficient is bigger than 1, but it's not going to cancel out nicely for you. So it is taking us one step further down our journey towards factoring quadratics fully. So today's question is, what is the strategy for finding factors when we use this new method called the box method? So how does it work? How do we use it? All right, so what we're going to see now is, reminder, general quadratics, a squared bx plus c. A is your lead coefficient, b is your coefficient of a term with a degree of 1, or your x term, and then c is your constant, so no variables involved. Our example is going to be 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. And we can see straight away, no greatest common factor. There is 1, there's always 1, but there's nothing other than 1. So 3 does not divide into 13 or 10. I'm going to give you the steps on the left over here, and then we're going to do the steps on the right. I suggest you copy the whole thing down because you're going to want this working example for you as you do future ones and you get used to what this box method is. So the first step is to draw our box, our window pane. So it's also called the Windowpane method because when you draw it, you're going to do this kind of cross in the center and then put a box around it. It kind of looks like a window pane. And then it says fill in the a and c values. So in the top left, you're going to have your ax squared values. We're actually going to put the x squared in here too. And on the bottom right, we're going to have our c value. The other two boxes are going to be some combination of values that when we add them together, it will add up to be b, but we just don't know what they are yet. So, I mean, there's an infinite number of possibilities of things that could add up to be minus 13. But we're going to need some very special values to make this whole thing work. What we'll do at the end then is we will figure out our two factors by looking at what's on the outside. So we're going to look for numbers that when we multiply the columns and the rows are going to result in what's inside of the box. So once we figure out these remaining blanks before x, the coefficients of x, we'll be able to figure out what goes in the outside rows and columns as well, and that'll be our factors. So I'm going to do my actual box down here. And we got 3x squared going in the top left and minus 10 going in the bottom right. Step 2, multiply the a and c values together. So a value is 3, c value is minus 10. So we got 3 times minus 10 is negative 30. Now this number is important because this is the number we're going to use to find factors of that add up to be negative 13. Because before, if this 3 wasn't here, it was factors of negative 10 that add up to be 13, and we would try and solve that, which is not possible anyway. But because there is a lead coefficient of 3, we can't do that here. We have to do this extra step first, where you multiply that 3 and the minus 10 together, get minus 30. And now, step 3, we need factors of minus 30 that are going to add up to be minus 13. So factors of minus 30, 1, and 30, and now I know one of them has to be negative. I'm just going to write them out first. And then we'll see if we can figure out which one needs to be negative. So if the left side was negative, I would get 29 and 13, positive 13, which is good to know, and 7 and 1. Because I want a negative 13, I'm just going to look at this and say, okay, if I instead switch it and do positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 5, and negative values, look at that. It results in a negative 29, a negative 13, a negative 7, and a negative 1. And we are after negative 13. So the two values I want are 2 and negative 15. So when I come down to my actual box, what I do is I say, one of those numbers goes up here, and we put an x after, so 2x, and the other is minus 15x. And essentially what we're doing here, guys, is factoring by grouping. We don't actually even realize yet, but that's what we're going to be doing. But how this works is you think of values that can go on the rows and columns that will result in what's inside of the box. So you start with the top left, the 3x squared. The only way to make x squared is to multiply x by x. And then to make 3, you have to multiply a 3 and a 1. Now 3 could go up here or it could go over here. You have to use a little bit of kind of logic and say, well, if I put the 3 over here, 3 times what is 2x? I'm going to be talking about a fraction, which is not great. I don't really want that. Versus if I put the 3 on top, 3 times what is minus 15? That's doable because I would just need a minus 5. So you may have to do a little bit of trial and error just to see, like, did I place them in the right spots? Kind of like a puzzle where you have to put the pieces in the right place. So then 3x times x is 3x squared. X times what is 2x? So I'm looking at that top row now. And my answer would be, of course, 2. So 2 times x results in 2x. 3x times blank is minus 15x. Well, that's a minus 5. So here are my two factors. I get 3x plus 2 and x minus 5. I just realized I wasn't moving forward the steps at the same time. So I'm going to fill the box with the blank spaces. So the two factors I found, 2 and negative 15, I put those in with x's after them. And then on the outside of the box, I'm going to write in the factor pieces that would result in the numbers inside of the box. So then my answer is 3x plus 2 times x plus 5. And like always, check your answer to make sure. So 3x times x, 3x squared. 3x times minus 5, minus 15x, plus 2x, minus 10. So that's 3x squared minus 13x minus 10, which matches my original question, so I am happy with my answer. Let's take a look at another example. So 5x squared plus 34x minus 7. I'm going to show all of your steps now, and then I'll do them together. So step 1, draw the box. Doesn't have to be pretty. Put your a value in the top left, 5x squared, and your c value on the bottom right. Multiply 5 and minus 7. So 5 times minus 7 is negative 35. I need factors of negative 35 that add up to be 34. This one seems a little bit easier because they're so close. So I know it's going to be 1 and 35, because that's the only way I'm getting close to that. One of them has to be negative. I need a positive 34, so I need a minus 1. So I add the two of those together, and I get 34. So in my box, minus 1 goes in one box with an x, and 35 goes in the other one with an x. On the outside of the box, 5x squared, I know that's going to be x times x. That's always going to happen, by the way. You're going to have an x on both of them. And then to make 5, there's only one way to do that. It's 5 and 1. 35 is divisible by 5, so I'm going to put the 5 on top and 1x on the left. 1x times blank is minus 1x. Well, that's a minus 1. And 5x times blank is 35x. That must be a 7. And then just to double check, 7 times minus 1 is minus 7. Check. So my factors are 5x minus 1 and x plus 7. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a totally different thing that we've done beforehand. I get if it's feeling a little bit overwhelming or confusing. We're going to go through these steps over and over again until we feel comfortable with the strategy, the tactics for going from start to finish. And it becomes very routine very quickly. And you'll find that these will work out. They're meant to work out. We won't come across ones that don't work out until much later. So here's two examples for you I want you to take a shot at, and then we'll see how our answers look. So pause the video, try them out, and then come back to see your answers. Okay, so first one, window pane out here. got 2x squared and 5. So then second step, multiply 2 and 5 together, I get 10. Factors of 10 that add up to 11, this is an easy one again, 10 and 1. So I put my 10 in one box and 1 in the other box. And then 2x squared, the only way to make that is x times x, and 2 times 1. 10 is divisible by 2, 1 is not, so I'm going to put the 2 on the left and the 1 up top. 2x times blank is 10x, that's a 5, and 1x times blank is 1x. The only thing to multiply by and get itself out again is 1. So my answer is x plus 5 and 2x plus 1. If I check my work, I get 2x squared plus 1x plus 10x plus 5, which is 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. Check. Second one, another box again. Top left goes 3x squared, bottom right goes 6. 3 times 6 is 18. And I need factors of 18 that add up to be negative 11. So it's a positive number, but I need it to add to be a negative 11, which means that both of my factors are going to have to be negative. We know that from previous trinomials that we've done. So minus 1 times minus 18. Minus 2 minus 9, minus 3 minus 6. Add those together, negative 19, negative 11, and negative 9. So here is our winner, the negative 2 and negative 9 factors. They go over to our box, minus 2x, minus 9x. And then 3x squared is made by x times x and a 3 times 1. 3 is divisible into 9, so I'm going to put the 3 on top. 1 times blank is minus 2x, that's a minus 2. And 3x times blank is minus 9x, that's minus 3. So my solution is 3x minus 2 times x minus 3, or 1x minus 3. Check my work. 3x squared minus 9x minus 2x plus 6, which checks out. Okay, so that's the steps. Like there's not much else I can show you that's going to help that out other than we do practice, and that's what we're going to do now. So if you check on Schoology or if you're in class, you're going to be looking at a worksheet now that has factoring trinomials where the a value is greater than 1. So you're going to practice that box method, you're going to sub in those values, and then you're going to find your factors based on that. So the question for today, what is the strategy? First step, draw your box. Fill in the A and C values into the top left and bottom right respectively. Then multiply your A and C value together, get this new number, and we need factors of that number that add up to be the B value. Once we've got those factors, we fill those into the blank spaces in the box with an X or whatever letter you're working with after them. And we go to the top columns and the side rows, and we try and figure out what values will multiply to be the values inside of the box. And once we have those are our factors. So there is a little bit of guess and check in here, or trying things out, but you find that you get much faster at it the more you do it. If you have any questions, obviously let me know, but I'll see you next time.